Hi everyone, NUSensei here. Today we're going to cover a topic which has been widely debated, and there are some people with very polarized views, and that is the question of when do you start using a clicker? Now for those who don't know, a clicker is a tool used in modern freestyle Olympic archery. It basically acts as a draw length indicator. And this is a very crucial tool if you plan to shoot competitively at the highest levels. Every archer at top level will use one of these. This has been around since the 1970s, and it's been normalized as part of modern recurve shooting. The idea is once you draw the arrow back far enough, it will click, indicating this is the length you should let go, and then you release, finish the shot, and that's what the clicker is used for. Now most people who start archery won't be using a clicker. You'll be using standard club equipment, your typical bare bow and whatever arrows we can give you, and you don't need one of these because you don't have the right gear or the right form to use a clicker. What ultimately happens is people will eventually do more with archery, they'll get their own equipment, they'll start personalizing it. But the question remains of this piece of equipment: when do I start putting this on the bow? When do I start practicing with the clicker? And what often happens is people will leave this in their bag and forget about it for months, if not years, and not use it. Now, of course, you can shoot fine without a clicker. That's what traditional shooters do and bare bow shooters do. So you can function okay without a clicker. However, if you're shooting Olympic style recurve, you're missing out on one of the most helpful tools, one of the most important accessories in shooting. If there's any reason to assume that modern archers cheat, it's this thing. If you're not using it, you're really underperforming. And this mentality, I find, often comes from very traditional-minded shooters or coaches who are unfamiliar with clicker training, and as a result, they have a fear of people using clickers and developing bad form and bad habits. The general understanding with clicker usage is that you need a foundation, you need the fundamentals of archery. Now, the clicker won't teach you that, that's fair enough. But when you have the fundamentals, when you have consistency or enough consistency, then perhaps think about using the clicker sooner rather than later. Some coaches will be quite aggressive in putting the clicker on right away and using it as a teaching tool. Some will give you more time to adjust to your bow and just have fun doing archery before using the clicker. But if you want some reference, let's actually take a look at the sort of person who should and shouldn't be using a clicker. So I'm a new archer, I've got a brand new bow, and I'm going to shoot some arrows. So as a coach, you're watching me and you see me shooting like this. You don't need a clicker for that. There are far more important things to work on instead of worrying about a clicker. Now, obviously, we have to work on having a full draw, getting the right anchor point, holding steady on target, shot execution, release. All the fundamentals should be in place. And as many people would agree, including a clicker at this stage will only complicate things and possibly make it even worse, because now you're worrying about this stimulus, which is meant to click at a certain point, and you kind of panic and you spray your target anyway. Now let's say your form looks more like this. Now obviously that was far from perfect, but there were many more things that were positive in this routine. Firstly, there's generally an anchor point. The draw length was fairly consistent. Bit of a rush shot, maybe a bit of collapse, but perhaps 75% of the shot process is pretty accurate. And the grouping was good too. And for me, that's when I would start considering encouraging the archer to start using the clicker. Because while their form isn't perfect, the clicker can help them attain what they're missing. That is consistent length, consistent expansion, and control of the shot. And this is a good opportunity and a good time to start introducing these concepts. Some people are, you might say, clicker averse. They don't want to add anything else more complicated to their shot process because they're shooting okay. And the problem with that is it might slow down or halt further growth in the archer. The momentum in learning new things, consolidating form is there. All they need is a bit of guidance to show them how to do it correctly. Now, if you don't want to use a click at this point because it feels uncomfortable or you don't feel ready yet, well, that's fine too. But you might end up like this. Again, not perfect, but we see further improvements in the process. The anchor point is more clearly defined. There's more of a conscious effort to hold and expand through the shot. You're basically executing a good shot without a clicker. And in which case, one, you're already shooting quite well, and two, it's very clear that someone shooting like this will benefit from additional training with a clicker. The thing that we overlook, however, is how long it takes to get to this level. Would it take months or years to build this consistency? And would a clicker accelerate this learning process? Another thing which is overlooked is that the clicker helps drill process into the archer. Many beginner archers are fixated on aiming, and they don't pay enough attention to the process. So while they might be aiming in the right spot, they don't expand or release correctly, resulting in a shot which isn't where they're aimed. The clicker forces the archer to follow a correct and consistent process. Otherwise, they can't finish the shot because the clicker hasn't gone off yet. By training yourself to use the clicker, you mentally prevent yourself from doing a bad shot, because you are now focused only on process. You can't shoot with the clicker still on. You can technically, but you're going to ruin your arrows. But as a psychological thing, if it doesn't go off, you can't shoot. And archers who would otherwise release a bad shot will go, well, I can't get through, let's restart. The clicker therefore requires you to follow the correct process of reaching full draw, expanding slowly, and then when the clicker goes, you release. And that consistency in process is what gives the modern archer an edge over barebow shooting. In summary, many archers are too conservative with when to use the clicker. They will often wait until they feel they have the basics perfected and mastered, and that they're afraid that using a clicker will ruin their form. This isn't true. You don't need to wait until you're perfect to use a clicker. If you were perfect, you wouldn't really need a clicker. However, using the clicker as a training tool can accelerate your learning process. If you are already fairly comfortable with the fundamentals and you have a consistent draw, not a perfect draw length, but a consistent draw length, in which case you have a good anchor point which you can use most of the time, then you're ready for the clicker. The clicker only fails if you have a completely erratic shot process where nothing's consistent. Don't worry about this then. But if you have consistency, this will make you even more consistent. So I do encourage more people to be open-minded about using the clicker sooner rather than later. Again, every learner will learn at a different rate and have different problems in the learning process. But the clicker should not be seen as, oh man, it's too much for me. It should be seen as a learning and training tool as much as it is a shooting accessory. In my opinion, the sooner the better. As soon as someone starts developing consistent form, then I'll start putting the clicker on and show them how to use it. Now again, if you find that it's too hard and you don't want to focus more on fundamentals, you can always take it off or just simply not use it. But having it on and using it well means that you are a huge step closer to the epitome of optimal process, which as a modern style shooter, you are really striving for. Personally, when I bought my first bow, I didn't have a clicker. My coach kind of reprimanded me and kind of really chewed me off for not getting one at the same time. So I bought a clicker, and within 2 weeks I was using it with my new kit. So yeah, that worked well. I haven't gone back since in terms of shooting modern freestyle or Olympic archery. It's really a core part of the modern form of archery. So if you get used to it quicker, then you should be in a better position to learn much more quickly than if you shot without. So again, my overall advice is don't be too afraid. If you have a coach, work with your coach to use this effectively. If you don't have a coach, that's a bit more difficult. I will understand if you don't want to use a clicker as part of your training because you don't have someone observing you, but try it first. Definitely have it ready. And if you feel comfortable enough with your form, then make the jump, start using it. Anyway, this is NUSensei. I hope you found this helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.